Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining me. I'm Tim Laskus, and you're listening to The Tim Laskus Show, episode 68. How many of you out there are looking for a brand new, nice looking, crispy logo? Raise your hand. Well, the place to go for that is Design Crowd. They will create a custom logo for you that you can put on a book cover, on your website, maybe on your mic flag that you have right above your microphone if you're a podcaster, or just anywhere. Design Crowd is the place to go. You will get it done right and you will love it. They did my logo and I get lots of compliments. So if you head over to timlaskus.com/resources, click on Design Crowd and get your special discount rate today. Also, if you are a podcaster and you're looking for a place to put that logo on, you need a mic flag. The one that sits right above my Heil PR40 Chrome Edition microphone is incredible. I love it. It ties everything together. And the place to get that, to get your nice mic flag, is Impact PBS mic flags. They are cool, easy to work with, and they give you a good rate and they get it to you fast. So if you head over to my website, timlaskus.com/resources, click on Impact PBS, it'll take you right to their site. Put in the discount code Tim Laskus. It's Tim Laskus, the discount code. There it is, right there, and boom, get a special rate. All right, now on to today's featured guest, who is Virginia Phillips. She's a true inspiration after overcoming a severe motor vehicle accident. I think she was rated at 100% permanently disabled after that. And at that point, she had two choices to make. I could sit here and feel sorry for myself and do nothing, or I could create something spectacular. And that's the route she took. She started a coaching business and it has just grown, and she has just set the stage on fire. She's won all sorts of awards and she is just crushing it out there. And she brings lots of very, very cool tips and strategies for all of you. And I'm telling you, I just can't wait. Her mission is to empower service-based entrepreneurs to dream into their future, create their own destiny, leave a legacy through mindset, leadership, and good business practices. So get ready. Don't fall off that treadmill if you're running. Get comfortable if you're sitting in that chair, and enjoy.
The Tim Laskus Show, in search of entrepreneurial gold. Tim digs deep into the minds of his guests. Entertaining, down to earth, and informative. Now, here's your host, Tim Laskus.
Well, hi, Virginia. Thank you for joining me today.
Hi, thank you for having me, and thank you to your listeners for tuning in. I just love spending this kind of time with you and with them, especially on such a beautiful day.
Yeah, but there's something you love more, and that's being outside. So you were telling me that you're a real nature buff. What's that all about?
I don't know what it is all about. Maybe it's my time that I spent as a Girl Scout outdoors when I was younger, but I love being outdoors. It does something to my chemistry, I think, in my body. You can take me kind of anywhere. You can put me on a river. You can put me in trees. You can put me on beach. I just love to be outside.
Now, can you be dropped off anywhere and then like start fire with your fingertips or something? Are you that good?
I would like to say I've got that good, but your listeners will hear that I am way too disabled to be that good.
What do you think about that show, Naked and Afraid, where they drop them off in the middle of the jungles and the deserts and all that stuff?
Well, I would love to give you an opinion on that, but I don't think I know about the show at all.
Oh, well, they have these, they'll take a man and a woman, and they basically have to give up everything, their clothes and everything, and they just drop them off in nature, and they have to survive for I don't know how many days. And the cameras follow them around. They kind of film themselves at times, and they're no food, they have to figure out how to start fire and find food and dealing with scorpions and snakes and alligators or whatever's in that environment. So I didn't know if you had saw that and if you had an opinion, but I guess not.
Well, my opinion on those types of experiences is there's nothing better to build your self-confidence, I think, than spending some time alone outdoor with you kind of against Mother Nature.
Well, yeah, it'll either build it real quick or it'll tear you down. And a lot of these people seem to get torn down because they're crying and in tears and I want to go home. So, but anyway, Virginia, tell the listeners a little bit about yourself professionally and what are you currently working on?
Oh, I am an author, a speaker, and a coach. I specifically coach young entrepreneurs. And when I say young, maybe not in age, but in business. They're starting out in a new adventure or their first adventure, and we help them get their mindset right, lead themselves into the right part of their business, and then stand up that basic foundation of their business. So many businesses don't even have a business plan in place, and we help them do that. And I love what I do all day long. I do it for folks not only in the United States but around the world. And I would love to see what questions your audience has for me, at the end of this, and have them engage with me and see what I can do for them.
Yeah, can you share maybe kind of I wouldn't say a typical kind of client that you have, but someone that kind of stands out, who came to you, who was struggling, and what were some of the things that you did to help them?
One of my favorite clients is a small business. That small business is a mom and pop business. They've got several contractors and subcontractors that work underneath them. And they're such a young couple that they've never really led anybody before. And now they're entrepreneurs with a team, not a huge team, 4 or 5 people under them. And just the general dynamics of leading that team and getting them motivated to work, and how to communicate not only to them but to potential customers what it is they do. I love going into that business on a regular basis, and helping them not only meld as a team, get their minds right, but lead themselves and lead their team in a direction that is very profitable for them.
Well, leadership is a real skill set that some people have and some people don't. But if they don't, they can, certainly learn it. But, and just thinking of, most people's experiences who are listening, maybe who have had jobs and they've had supervisors or someone who is a team leader within their organization who was promoted just because they were good at their job. And that's a big mistake that companies usually make is, well, Bill is always an exceptional employee and he always does his work well. So let's put him in a management position. And many times they fail. And why is that?
Well, they not only fail in other people's businesses, but they fail in their own. A number of entrepreneurs might be working for somebody else and they think they're really good at making their widget, whatever it might be, a hard product or a service based widget. And they go out on their own and they realize that they might not have all the skill set. One of the things I talk about is your perspective is so much different. You're no longer just kind of following somebody else's dream, but you're creating that path ahead of you. And if if folks work with me enough, I talk about those neural pathways in our head. And we have a neural pathway that is really well built for making that widget, but we do not have a great neural pathway for me or you running that widget on your own. And your brain doesn't really have a clear A to B to C to D steps in place for those programs or widgets you are creating. And it's going to be more of a struggle for you. There's going to be a learning curve for you because your brain has not operated that way. And even things that you may have applied in the scenario where you are making the widgets might not be as easily applied on a pathway that doesn't exist yet. So if you were in a car and you were driving from A to Z, and you knew that you would take road, whatever it was to get there, that pathway's already established. And we said, like in The Naked Afraid, you're not going to be able to use those pathways. We're going to plug you over here, and you are going to have to figure out how to get to that destination on your own. It takes much different work by the brain, much different experience on your own to create that new pathway in your head.
Yeah, and I think in creating that pathway, people kind of take what's around them, and many times they take those terms literally as far as being, a manager of a team that's under them or being, a supervisor. People don't want to be managed and people don't want to be supervised. All it does is just piss them off. And so I really hate those terms. Just not a big fan. Because that's what a lot of people who have no skills, they don't have that neural pathway in leadership, and they think management. I have a team to manage. Okay, I'm going to manage them, or I'm going to supervise them, and then they wonder why no one likes them, and everybody's doing the opposite of what they want them to do. Would you agree?
I absolutely agree. And I take it a step further when I either speak or coach. I really advise my clients to take the word help out of their vocabulary. People don't want to be managed and they don't want to be helped. They want you to be a resource for them, and they want to be the one that's what I call the alpha in the room in making the decisions. So I believe a really good leader allows the other people on their team or even their clients that they're working with to make the other person feel like as if they are making the decisions by themselves. And when a really good leader can get to that point, then you will see some amazing thing happen with the team. But if they are going into that conversation or that relationship like they are the one that is going to manage the person in front of them, like they are going to the one that's going to manage or help the person in front of them, they're not going to get the same results. A good leader will allow that other person to thrive and guide them to thrive at that level.
Absolutely. And managing and supervising someone typically breaks them down and doesn't build them up as a leader would do. And so if, that's a real, tip for a lot of people out there is if you want people, to perform well, who are working as part of a team that you're with is to build them up and never tear them down. And so many people kind of fall on that and they get so frustrated in their position. They're like, well, just do it because I said do it. Don't question me, or, this is the way you have to do it. And that really just kind of breaks people down.
Well, and quite honestly, a lot of us learn that technique from our parents because I
Mm-hmm.
told you so. How many of us have heard that from our parents because I told you so? Well, it doesn't work really to build strong teams. It is an option, but at the end of the day, your team is not going to be stronger when you deploy such techniques.
Absolutely. Now, you've been doing this for a while. What are a couple of tips that you would have for kind of new entrepreneurs out there who are just starting out, and what's something that can help them to be more successful?
They need to get a better understanding of who they are and what is their unique place in this world. So many new entrepreneurs that I work with don't believe that they have enough of anything to be able to offer to the world, that like they rely on a product to be able to market to the workplace or to the consumer, that I've lost my train of thought here, but they don't believe enough in themselves and what they can bring to the table for them to be able to stand up on their own 2 feet. I work with a lot of new entrepreneurs and get them to see that their uniqueness is what is so incredible about them, that they bring a unique set of skills and ability and experience and education that can't be duplicated by anybody else. It's their own subset of skills that they bring that is what is going to launch them to that next level. What I hear so often from new entrepreneurs is they don't have a certain certification, or they don't have a certain level of clientele, or they don't have a certain something. That is not needed. What's needed is you to be tuned into who you are and what your own story is, because that's what people are going to buy. The second thing that I see so often with new entrepreneurs is not getting clear on their own business plan. You need to understand what your business is and where you plan to go with that business. It's like taking a map out for a trip. You need to know you're going on a trip, and then you need to have some idea where you're going, or otherwise you're never going to get there. Too many businesses don't lay that out. They're good at making the widget, and then they start making the widget and expect success, and it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of going back to your first point of, have a better understanding of who you are. So many people kind of start out with copying others, and that's okay to a point, because many times, it is easier to kind of follow a path that's already been blazed. But then at some point, you have to start doing your own thing at that point. And so I think people kind of get lost. It's like, okay, well, I'm copying, but then they never stop trying to copy, and then they kind of lose themselves.
Exactly. And not only do they try to copy, but when they do try to copy, it's not themselves to begin with. it's that other person's area of expertise. Yours might be close to that, but it might be skewed a little bit to the left and a little bit to the right. And when you get to that place, that's when you're going to shine. But if you stay in that area where you're strictly copying somebody else's ideas and works, even if you were the one that was good at making that widget and the best on the team at making that widget, unless you begin to make that your own, you'll never shine.
Yeah. And then, on your second point of getting clear on your business plan, how many clients have approached you and when you pose this question, about what is your plan, your business plan, and how many of them have said, well, to make a lot of money, Virginia, what do you think? Do you ever get that answer?
Actually, most of them don't respond that way. A lot of the clients that I have want to put their own mark on the world, but they think it comes easy. They think if they just, put up a blog post or put up a website, that's going to be enough, and it's not.
Yeah. It's almost like I guess that the whole adage of, build it, they will come. And sometimes they do, but it takes a lot of hard work and effort. You have to build it, and there's other things that go on in the background to get them to show up and to purchase or, to engage with you as a company.
Absolutely. And I believe the best way to do that is to get real clear on who you are and how you are different than everybody else that might be in a similar space than you. Because when you can get to that point, people just gravitate to that story, your own story, and you will build a following off of that. When you can find that authentic self and truly show the world your authentic self, then folks will come. We live in a world today where we don't see authenticity enough. We see people's blog posts, we see folks doing Twitter posts and Instagram posts, and all of those have a skewed view of reality because either we're getting a sliver of the full picture or that sliver is also skewed a bit. Like in Instagram, I can take a picture and then they want me to put filters on it and crop it and change it and tell a story about it. Well, by the time I make all of those additional changes, it's no longer the original picture that I took. All of those skews change our authenticity to the world. And what people are craving now more than ever is to deal with the authentic self.
Great point. I love that. And everyone has a story, and it's important, to find that. And is that something that you help your clients with? Is to better understand their story and help make that clear to them?
Yes. If you ask any of my clients, the first several sessions, I push them to think about who they are and where they're going. It's a lot of tough questions that I drive at them. I don't give them any answers. They have to then go think about it and come up with who they believe they are. And once we get to that point, then I will begin working with them on building the business. But the first several sessions are always about, I need a better understanding of who you are, but basically they need a better understanding of who they are.
Great point. Now, when did you realize that, you had this entrepreneurial spirit and that this is your calling?
Well, probably after I opened my entrepreneurial doors. I started my business just like I tell everybody else not to do. It's not it's not something you hear from coaches very often, but if you hear my story, you will understand why I did that. I worked for corporate America for a very long time and left corporate America when I was involved in a car accident and spent almost 1,300 days in rehabilitation and was told I was too disabled to go back to working for corporate America. And the reason I was too disabled is I have a high level of risk injury and would not be insurable under workman's comp laws. So that left me little option but to go out on my own road. Now, I come from a long history of entrepreneurs in my family. Entrepreneurship is not foreign to me. In fact, our family owns a family business we have for a long time, but it just was never something I thought I would do until I was given a few other options. And shortly after I said I was exploring entrepreneurship, I was approached by a gentleman that said, I'd love to do business with you. And he pushed me to open my doors, and I opened my doors and started working with him within a couple of weeks with very little business plan and very little knowledge of what I was going to do with that partnership.
Wow. So, I mean, you were almost, so it seems like entrepreneurship never really maybe came to mind until you had this terrible traumatic incident. And then that kind of left you like, okay, now what? And then, that's when you kind of really found your calling.
That's exactly it. And it wasn't until I got in this space that I just love it. I love every minute of it. I don't miss working the job that I did love for so many years. I'm carving my own space in this world. And now I just want to help other people do the same thing that I've been successfully able to do the last couple of years.
Incredible. Now let's move into the dig round, Virginia, and this is where I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. And I want a kind of a quick response from you, with not a lot of thought, but just what's your initial instinct as an answer. Now, what keeps you motivated?
What keeps me motivated really is that car accident. It was very clear to me at that point that tomorrow is not promised, and we need to get up every day and make today our best day. And so that's what keeps me motivated. I get up in the morning and I know that today is a gift, and I've got to attack it and see what I can do to make an impact, not only in my life, but the lives of those that are in my community.
Mm-hmm. Now, who do you look up to as a business leader?
Damon John is one of those that I follow quite heavily, and I look up to him with immense respect.
Now, Damon John, he's the founder of FUBU, correct?
Yes, he is.
On Shark Tank, yes. Love that guy.
He is also, I don't know if he still reigns this title, but he's also an ambassador for entrepreneurship for the United States.
Oh, excellent. Now, Virginia, you have to choose one of these: street smarts or book smarts. Which one's for you?
Street smarts.
Street smart. It's all about the street. Burn the books.
I love my books. I'm not burning them, but street.
And you're an author. You chose street smarts. Yeah. What is that all about? Why did you go that route?
So I tell everybody I hated reading. I really hated reading growing up. I learned life about interacting with people and how to interact with folks. It is only really within the last 4 or 5 years that I've begun to love books. So if you give me that choice, it's going to be street smarts.
Got ya. Now, can you, as an entrepreneur, I'm sure you've had your ups and downs. Can you share with the listeners a time where you were just mentally drained, and how did you overcome it?
Wow, mentally drained. I think it happens on a regular basis. For me, I think it happens on the days that are really long, that I've worked with clients, that I'm pushing my own business forward, and especially working on this book. And I think everybody gets to that point where you're like, I can't do another call. I just can't do it. Like, enough is enough. And for me, I always go back to, what is my competition doing? Are they throwing in the towel? I want to be better than that competition. I've got to be more hungry than them. I've got to find that space. I take a little bit of a mental break. I teach that to my clients. Give my mind a little bit of space, and that can be all of 30 seconds, 2 minutes, and then I get right back into it, and I want to outshine that competition.
So reflect on your competition, and then also just kind of take a step back, remove yourself mentally from that situation, and just allow yourself to kind of recharge and regroup, and then you're back at it.
Absolutely. If people work with me, they know there's a whole lot about our happy chemicals in our head that can't go the marathon, that our chemicals are more like sprinters, and you've got to give them small breaks or large breaks during the day to recharge and sprint again.
Absolutely. I'm a big firm believer in that. And, at the end of a long day for me, I like to take about 45 minutes to an hour and just decompress and just remove myself from, the internet, from my phone, from the computer, and just go outside. And we had talked about nature earlier, just to be away, just to go take a walk, clear my head, not think about anything. And that recharges my batteries.
Yeah.
Now, what would you say is one of the most fulfilling moments as an entrepreneur?
There are so many, but I love it when my clients make those big wins. And I've had some clients make big wins. One of my clients was really struggling to make house payments when we started. And now he's talking about opening offices in other countries. And I love those stories. He's no longer fearful of losing his house. He's no longer fearful of how he's going to feed his family at the end of the day. And they not only have a game plan for today, tomorrow, next week, for a long time to come. And the conversations with him and his family have changed from, I don't know how we're making through the day, to I can't figure out how I'm going to impact my community more.
Yeah, there's nothing like hearing those stories, and that more so than any kind of monetary kind of gift or anything we receive, but it's the stories from the people that we help that really drive us. Well, Virginia, you've been a fantastic guest, and we've come to the end of the show. But before we leave, tell the listeners where they can find you online, your website, your book, and all that great stuff.
Thank you very much, Tim. They can find me at my new website, aoeenow.com. That is short for the Academy of Entrepreneurial Excellence now.com. And they can see my blog posts, see where I'm speaking. They can interact with me and send me questions out of the blue. That is probably the best spot for folks to reach me. If they're on Twitter or Instagram, go to my website and connect with me there. You will see all of the links. You will also see on that website my book that is coming out in the next few weeks, called Yes, You Can, Your Roadmap to Dream, Create, and Profit. And it is about getting that mindset right to go out and make some money.
Sounds great. Ladies and gentlemen, Virginia Phillips, be sure to visit her online at aoeenow.com. And it's been a pleasure. I appreciate your time, Virginia, and I look forward to following you on your journey.
Thank you very much, Tim. And I stay tuned to what you are doing and what future guests you've got coming on.
Well, thank you. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Want more entrepreneurial tips? Go to timlaskas.com.